I thought that leadership meant telling other people what to do,
Yes.
and it's actually not.
Hello, welcome to the Like-Minded podcast. Today we're here with Marielle Voksepp, who is an experienced leader and helps both people and businesses develop their entrepreneurial skills and maximize their potential. Hello, Marielle.
Hi.
Can you tell us a little bit more what it is you do?
Yes. Thank you, Monica, for having me, for inviting me here. So I am a startup advisor. I work specifically with technology startups, and I've also become an angel investor. And what that means is that I invest in very early stage companies to help them grow their businesses and take their products to market.
But you graduated first with a biology and anthropology degree. How did you get to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, Monica, when you look at my resume or my background, it's not a linear path. I think that I have always followed my curiosity, and that is, I think, a very important skill in entrepreneurship is to be curious. And so when I graduated with my degree, it became apparent that there weren't really very many career opportunities in biological anthropology or in crime scene investigation, which is what I really wanted to do with that degree. So I spent a few years working in industry and thought, okay, I don't know if this is for me either. And at that time, I had been teaching at the Toronto Estikoolit. So I decided to go back to school and get a degree in education. And it was something that I loved to do. I loved working with students. I loved, seeing them grow and thrive, and being able to provide them with guidance or impart knowledge and experience. So I thought, okay, if this is something that I really enjoy, maybe this is where I should be. And then, as it turns out, I never actually got into a classroom. I was lucky enough to get a job at Mars Discovery District, which at that time was the largest innovation center in the world. And I was hired by them because of my education degree to build curriculum-based programming for entrepreneurs, specifically for scientists and engineers out of the University of Toronto who were looking to commercialize their intellectual property.
If 15-year-old you would see you right now, what do you think she would be most surprised about?
I think that I ended up in business, which I thought I would never do. That I thought, okay, I'm never going to work in business or corporate life, and then a lot of my career has been spent doing that. So that was a bit of a surprise.
Your latest works have been with youth and younger people.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that probably the best decision that I made was getting that education degree, because it has allowed me to merge two worlds. So to merge the world of business and entrepreneurship with educating youth. And so I've had a variety of opportunities throughout my career to work with students. In 2013, we built entrepreneurship boot camps for high school students. We worked with the Toronto District School Board to train not only students in entrepreneurial thinking, but also educators. So we were running professional development programs that were teaching educators how to teach our curriculum to their students as a way to try to scale or grow entrepreneurial thinking into the school system, which we thought at that time was very important, because the world was changing rapidly. And as we've seen, over the last 10 years, with the introduction of artificial intelligence and advanced technology tools, a lot of jobs are being automated. And so we thought at that time it's critical that students learn to be entrepreneurial thinkers. And what we meant by entrepreneurial thinkers was that they learned a lot of the skills that entrepreneurs seem to innately have. So to be critical thinkers, to be problem solvers, to see problems and challenges as opportunities to come up with solutions, to have very strong relational skills and people skills. And that's becoming even more important now, I think exponentially important, because the jobs of the future are going to be jobs that require those skills with all of these tasks that are being automated, and also for the potential to build your own future. And I think where I've come to, from your original question of if I looked at my 15-year-old self, looked at where I am now, I think that I couldn't even have dreamed of being where I am now, where I have the flexibility and autonomy to do work that I love, to control my own schedule, to spend time with my kids when I want to, and to be available to them. And so that, I think, would have been a big surprise to me.
But now if you meet students, would you say that if you meet somebody, you're able to tell pretty quickly how successful their idea or their personal aspects allow them to be?
Yes.
Really? What are some key signs somebody is going to do very well, and some key signs that they might need some more personal development or some things before they can get at what they want to do?
Well, I think it's 100% mindset. Most ideas fail. More than 85% of startups fail. And the ones that stand apart are the ones that are resilient, that have failed several times and have been able to pick themselves up and iterate to change what they're doing and to change their solution. And so you can, or I can tell, because I've had so many years of experience and I've worked with so many different entrepreneurs and students, that you can tell quite early in their mindset if they're open to feedback, if they're coachable, are they receptive to information and feedback and constructive criticism. And those are small tells where you can see right away if they will succeed, not just as an entrepreneur, but probably even as a person. The idea is not so important. I've worked for many years with investors. Investors almost don't care at all about the idea. If you watch Dragon's Den or Shark Tank, you'll hear them say this. They'll say, I'm not so concerned about the idea. I love you as a person. I love what you do. I love what you bring to the table. I love what you've been able to achieve, because the idea will die several deaths. And it's the entrepreneur's attitude and mindset that is going to ensure success. And that's what an investor cares about. An investor wants to make sure they get a return on investment. So when you look at it from that perspective, the investor wants to see that that entrepreneur is going to bring money back to them. The idea is not that important. And we've seen so many ideas die and come back to life in different forms to become successful businesses. And so I think that when I work with students, I can tell quite early, based on their responses, if they will succeed in general.
Have you always had the right mindset? Or if you're an investor or a coach now and you would meet a younger version of you, maybe when you were just in university, and if you would meet her and talk with her, would you find her coachable and with the right mindset?
It depends on who you ask. I think my parents would say no. Yeah, that's a good question. I think I've always been curious. My whole life I've been curious. I remember report cards and sitting with teachers who had identified that I was very inquisitive. So I think that was something that was probably innate and that I was born with. I asked a lot of questions and I was always curious. And I don't think that I have ever been too closed-minded. I think that there was a period in my life where I maybe thought I knew the answers. And so working in this world with entrepreneurs probably had a positive influence on that, where I realized that it's very important to ask questions and to challenge your assumptions. I've been lucky to work with some amazing and very smart people throughout my career, and a mentor and good friend of mine named Charles Plant said once, and this was a decade before I actually had the privilege of working with him, I remember him saying in a lecture, and he's a very extremely accomplished entrepreneur and investor and CFO. And he said, I wake up every day thinking that everything I know is wrong, challenging every assumption I have and being open to new perspectives. And I remember that as being really profound.
But working with young students, what do you think is the biggest misconception people have about entrepreneurship before they enter the industry themselves or go into it themselves?
I think the one that I see the most, the pattern that I see the most in students is thinking they have to have something perfect, and that it's actually the opposite. If you are waiting until you have the perfect business or the perfect product, then you've done something wrong. It's so important to build your product with your customer. And that can be done with no resources. That can be literally done with a drawing on a piece of paper. And you could go out to the market and you could talk to potential customers and say, I've got this idea, what do you think? Or have you been experiencing a problem in this area? What does that look like? And by gathering those insights and that information, you will be light years ahead of someone that just tinkers in their garage or in their laboratory and puts out a perfect product. Because if nobody is going to buy it, you don't have a business. And if you're not meeting your customers' needs because you don't understand it and you haven't been out there asking them questions, you're not building a successful product. So that is, I think, the misconception that a lot of students make is, and I think this is another theme, but I think that's a flaw of our education system, that we are focused on getting to the right answer. And that, I think, is the opposite of what entrepreneurship is.
So if I would have an idea right now, the first step for me would be to just talk about it with as many people and get feedback about it and find first customers.
Absolutely. In fact, I think like first to market is more important than even having a finished product.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. There's an argument that second to market is better because you let the first to market pave the way and make all the mistakes, and then you can just step in there and learn from them. But first to market, especially in the academic world where there's intellectual property and a big focus on protecting intellectual property, there's a lot of back and forth between, is it more important to protect your idea or is it more important to get your product out there into the market? And there's case studies that support both sides, but I think in my experience and the entrepreneurs that I've worked with, it's so easy to copy a product that if you are the first to market and you have a loyal customer base and you are meeting their needs, then you're going to have a much greater strategic advantage over the competition.
But you talked a little bit about the lack of maybe our educational system in leadership and business right now. So if you were to invent a new subject that every student had to take, what would you make them learn?
Well, I would call it entrepreneurial thinking. I wouldn't necessarily, you do need to have the foundational skills that you would learn in a small business course or an entrepreneurship course, but I think there needs to be a step two, and that's about teaching those critical thinking and problem solving skills and that mindset. And so, there are the fundamentals of Entrepreneurship 101 and how to do sales and marketing and how to register your company and sort of like the nuts and bolts and maybe the more or the less interesting parts of entrepreneurship that you do need to learn when you're starting out, because you're typically doing it alone or doing it with one or two other people before you are able to start hiring people that have those skills or specializations. But I think the part that we're missing right now is the part about that mindset. And I have been asked by numerous schools to help them build programs that teach entrepreneurial thinking skills. So there's definitely a need out there. And I think that it will help set up on a larger scale, like really looking at the bigger picture, it will help set up our economy to succeed. And something that the Canadian economy, especially right now, that we need is that ability to produce homegrown talent and to start being able to build more businesses at home that stay at home. We have a big brain drain problem. there are many systemic reasons for that. You can look at the fact that we have too many regulations and too much bureaucracy, so it's difficult to get to market. In Canada, it's also the size of our market, but we're very risk averse here. And so there's no capital here for entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs are forced to go to the United States for capital, but the investors in the United States want them to establish their businesses there. So then we lose these amazing businesses, and with that we lose jobs and we lose our economic advantage. And then that affects productivity, and it's just a cascade of issues that then gets us to where we are now, which is an economy that's not competitive and that is at risk to tariffs. So it goes into like a much bigger a much bigger scenario, but it starts with education. And I think that that's where I realize that education can have such a profound impact on people.
Sometimes you meet people who maybe have had the education, do have the knowledge and have an idea, and they just have been thinking about it for 10 years. Oh, I will start it really soon. But what do you think holds those people back? Or how could we help them like make the first step?
That's a great question. And I was reading an article this morning. Entrepreneur.com is a great publication, and they have just a variety of different articles and topics. And it was talking exactly about that. It was talking about just getting out there and doing it. And I think that, again, can come from our education system. I think that we're doing something that is teaching Canadians to be too risk averse and, be too worried about waiting for the right moment. And we need to build more resilience. We need to have a narrative that says that failure is okay. Failure is a learning opportunity. It's not something negative. And we need to create these mindsets early on in our students where they're willing to go out and take these risks right away and not wait too long.
Is there something about leadership you thought was true 10 years ago, but you have changed your mind completely now that you have done all the work you have?
I don't know if it's something that I really thought was true, but I thought, I guess maybe 10 years ago or more than 10 years ago, I thought that leadership meant telling other people what to do.
Yes.
And it's actually not.
No.
Good leadership is not telling other people what to do. Good leadership is setting a vision, is setting direction, clear direction, and inspiring vision, and hiring the right people, surrounding yourself with the right people, with the right skills, and then enabling them to shine. So great leadership is really about taking a step back and creating the environment and the circumstances to let other people thrive. And I think that's really what sets successful entrepreneurs apart. When you get to growth and you get to scale and you see some of these incredible companies like Shopify, the ones that really stand apart from others, it comes down to leadership in the end to get to that size.
Is there a dream project for you that you haven't been able to build yet, but that you would like to do?
Oh, that's a great question. I have like a little bit of
a secret project and let everybody know your ideas.
No, I bounce around to different things where I'll be like, oh, there's a shiny object over there. I'm going to chase that for a while. I think, so I started my master's in educational leadership and policy. And the reason I did that was because I did feel really compelled by this need to bring entrepreneurial thinking into our school system. And change seems to happen very slowly in school systems or public school systems. So I think that is something where I would really love to have an impact. I'm not quite ready yet. I think I am still learning as well. And so it's definitely something that I have on my wish list. I don't yet know how I'm going to get there, but I'm paving the way to get there. And all of these experiences and all of the work that I do and all of the people that I talk to, I think are the stepping stones to getting there. I just don't know when. Maybe when my kids are a little bit older and I have some more time.
But if you could give one idea to all our listeners today to go home with and take with them, what idea would you tell them to keep in their minds?
For themselves, like something to consider for themselves.
You believe that would help their lives?
I think not to be afraid of having the wrong answer. Everything is a learning opportunity. There are no stupid questions. You never know what you're going to learn by potentially saying the wrong thing. So I think if I could impart on everyone to just be fearless, like have courage. Maybe fearless isn't the right word. It's totally normal to be afraid, and it's okay to be afraid. But have the courage to push past that fear, ask silly questions, go outside your comfort zone. I hated public speaking. It was like terrible for me. I hated it so much. My good friend and mentor, Carrie Damon, she's amazing. I hated it so much, and I would not smile on camera or on stage. But she used to challenge me, and every week I had to get up on stage in front of 300 people every Wednesday to give these Entrepreneurship 101 lectures. I had to go introduce the speaker. And she used to challenge me every week in our weekly meeting, and she would say, "This week, you have to smile this much more."
And now you're always doing
and now I wouldn't say that I love it, but now I've had to do it so much, even though I hated it, and I had I'd be sick all afternoon waiting for that moment that I had to step on stage. But it really is true. If you push yourself out of your comfort zone, it's like psychologically you push past that fear and anxiety, and that's all it is. It's all really in your head. And then once you've done that a few times, you can really overcome it. So that's a personal example for me. Everybody has their own, fears and apprehensions. And so I think just if everybody goes home tonight and has the courage to do one thing they've been afraid to do, I think you're 10 steps ahead of other people.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye.